Alrighty, happy Thursday. Oh, I got the wrong course here. We are finishing up our work on databases. So we started our little registration system example. I want to show you a couple other fun things we can do and build out a basic graphical interface for it because there's some really cool things we can do with lists and querying our database, getting information back from the database, and doing these things a little bit more dynamically to make a better user experience because we all love stuff like that. Um, you know, it's fine for the project to just do it all in the console if you want. You don't have to put a UI in there. I'm going to show you building out the UI makes it much more interesting and actually an application that you can imagine someone might want to use eventually. That sort of thing here. So I don't think we'll spend all of tonight on it. So we should have a little bit of time to get with, if you wanted to work with partners, up to 3 people, so that you can try out your final project group was my recommendation. But if you want to do it by yourself, that's fine too. But next week, when we get into our final project, our network-based application here, we do need to do that in groups. We just don't have time for everyone to present a final project um, and our final exam slot. So um, and then we can say, hey, we've gone through and writ. Oh my goodness, we have written a medium-sized Java program. Yeah.
Final question, the current project is XV.
So we'll use databases to store information, but it'll be a network-based application with a graphical interface. So we're sort of building on all of these concepts here. So the example, the plan I have to work through is building out a chat application. I've got some good examples. Dr. Baugh, who usually teaches the course, but got pulled into teaching a more interesting course on deep learning. Um, he's like, so we swapped. So he's like, it was at the same time as this one, and I teach Java frequently, but I got a lot of good example stuff from him, some supplemental material. This book unfortunately doesn't have the networking stuff, but it's much cheaper than the $200 Pearson book that does have the networking stuff, and everything else is all the same. So we were switching over to a cheaper book. So plan is to look at multi-threading and networking. We'll introduce a little bit of the networking stuff, but spend more time in the multi-threading, other stuff we can do with cool multi-threading stuff. And then running a network server relies on multi-threading. So we'll pick that up and then work on the final project. My hope is that groups will propose their own project to do something that they want to do with multi-threading and networking, building out an interface, storing information here. You can do some silly game stuff. You can do other applications, sending stuff back and forth. We've got lots of ideas here. So hopefully your group can come up with something fun. And if we get a couple repeats, that's not the end of the world. But it's really boring if we get 15 projects that are all the exact same one, because then presentations are really dull. Yeah.
So the plan can be anything that the group can come up with the idea, but it has to satisfy some conditions, correct?
Yes, it'll be a client server based networked application. So you run it over the network. You have one app that runs the server, and then someone else can launch an app either on the same device or, it's much more fun if it's some other device and they connect over the network. But again, you can still do it all on your computer to test it out and play with it here to build a networked based application. And network based applications use multi-threading for this sort of stuff. And we want to store information in the database because we want to keep stuff around, while our program's running, the server's up and running or the server shuts down, these sorts of things. And keeping stuff in files is not really ideal. And it's not how you're going to do stuff for most of our applications. We'll keep data in the database somewhere because that's a nice central location. Unless it's like just local user data, that sort of stuff, you can just write as files. Like here's a preferences file or something. You don't always need to keep that out in the database, but um, so that's the plan. We'll kind of put it all together. I don't plan on spending all 2 hours and 45 minutes because somehow that works out to 3 hours. I don't know how the math works for 3 credit hours being 245, but sure. So I'll probably plan to end a little bit before 8 or so, both nights or all 3 nights to give you time to get with your group, brainstorm ideas, distribute work. If you want to sit and work for the next hour, great. I can help, and you can show me things. I can get you unstuck for those nights as well. And then on 12/4 after Thanksgiving, just final project work time. Nothing new. No new examples from me. You can just have the whole night to work on your project with your group, and ideally it's done by 12/4. That's my hope for you folks, so that you don't have anything to worry about for this class in final exam week, and you can focus on classes where you do have to cram for final exams. 'Cause I don't have to do that. I can give you a project, right? And you can have a whole month on it, which is awesome. So we'll have essentially a month. And then if you need the rest of the week, sure, go for it. It's up to your group here. Um, and again, you can fire someone from your group, but it should not be a surprise, right? You should be telling them along the way, hey, this was what you were assigned to do. You didn't give it to us. If you don't complete it, we're kicking you out, right? That's perfectly fair. You're giving them notice. We're divvying up the work. We're not going to carry you. If you don't contribute in a significant way, you get kicked out of the group. And if you don't complete the group final project, you fail the class. So just keep that in mind. But it should not be a surprise to someone, right? It shouldn't be, oh, why am I getting kicked out of the group? You're like, no, I emailed you, I texted you, like I've tried contacting you, you agreed to do this stuff here, you never delivered, right? Is that fair? Okay. I don't want you stuck with crappy team members, but everyone needs a chance to contribute. So, and you can pick your own group. So I'll make another Canvas page, a group page that you self-assign. Usually that works out pretty well for people. You just put yourself in your own group, and if people don't find a group, I just put them in and say, "Congratulations, now you have a team." So if no one has a group by the 13th, I just assign a group to them. But you've got that first week to. I mean, you can even. I guess I can start it early if you wanted, but wait till you see how well the database project works out. I guess before you sign up to keep working with these folks. Um, that makes sense. So believe it or not, we're almost done here. So this is the last chapter of actual material I have out of the textbook. We've got a bunch of supplemental stuff again from Dr. Ball, some slides and other things and examples, some code. We'll go through and build out. It's not the most interesting example, but it will show and demonstrate how all these things work with client server stuff, which is pretty fun. Um, and then we end in November, and then you got all December to finish up. Great, awesome. Let me flip over to IntelliJ. And I need a copy of my copy project because IntelliJ sucks. Um, it's a really nice tool, and it's fine. They can make their money off of it here, but I don't want to have to build out a user interface. I have to do all the button clicking myself, so I'm going to use the copy one. So let me go to my GitHub directory. That's the wrong one. Shoot. Um, OneDrive is so fantastic. I like to keep another documents folder. 296. Did I miss it? 296. Oh, of course, because it's a smaller number. 296, copy me, and this will be FX registration. So I'm going to grab the classes out of here that we started with and then move them into this new project so that it is a JavaFX project. That's generally the easiest way to do it. You can go through and add all your own external libraries and add all the other stuff to do it by hand. It's just obnoxious. So I'll go out this way. So let me go close, open GitHub, JavaFX registration. I'm going to do a new window so I have them both open here. Yes, I trust the project. All right, so I should just be able to take my College DB class here and my student class. I think those are the ones we needed. And should be able to paste them in here. And it's going to add, I don't care about adding file to get here. Now, it changed the package name for me, which is nice. Okay, so the package is just the name of the folder. Java is very convention based. So they're inside of a folder named com, inside of a folder named example, inside of a folder named JavaFX Hello World. That gives it the package name. I think we talked about that a while back. But if you copy paste not using IntelliJ, like if you just take the text of it and copy paste it, it's not going to change the package name for you. You have to go do that step yourself. Is also just notice that. And then, oh, we need the connection stuff that our imports are not. Oh, that's right. So we had to go to our Maven configuration and go add the uh, SQLite JDBC connector. That's what we're looking for here from the Xerial one. So we can go add that in our project settings. Our No, that wasn't it. Did we just add it here? And no, we went to Maven settings, right? It was last week and I already forgot. Dependencies. Wow. I'm already forgetting how I did it. I'm sorry. Really thought I would remember. Here it is. Okay, so the project structure. I'm going to go add a library from here. So we're going to go add our not listed here. Sorry, so we'll go nope, add not from URL. Add a library. There we go. From Maven, Xserial, SQLite. No, was it just Xserial? There we go. Okay, so Xserial, SQLite. And I think we probably just picked the latest version number. I don't think it really mattered. Um, Added to there. Fantastic. Okay. Now, does our import work here? Is it happy? Oh, okay. So we have to add that to our module info is declared, but doesn't read it. Sure. Okay. Now we got rid of that stuff. Cool. And close out our Maven window. Excuse me. Am I in the wrong one? I'm in the wrong. No, this is the right one. Affects registration. All right. So the first way we looked at a getting student, right? Get student versus get single student by ID. So if we just had a list of students and wanted to display all of them, right? It's nice to use the class here that represents that information rather than just passing however we'd want to do it here, right? You can do arrays or um, array lists. You can do lots of different things, but encapsulating all that information in a class is nice, and that's a very common practice to map essentially our tables to classes. Right? So they have the same attribute list. Right? Our class is the attributes that are just the columns of our table, right? Because that's all that information is going to be there. And then the other cool thing we can do is we can add computed information or add other methods to our classes here if we wanted to add more information, or we could add collections here to our student. Like if you wanted to have more information about student, so one of the things we need the database file too. That's what we need to copy over. Um, just remember that one. Um, there was, is it more? No? Wow. I've not had enough coffee today. Week 9, more Java. Week 9, more Java. There it was. Our college DB file. So let me copy that one over so we have it here. So one of the things we had, so let me open up our SQLite editor, SQLite DB browser. I want to make sure I open the right one here. Right? So when I go open my database, make sure I get the correct version because I've got 2 now. Um, one from registration. So student, right? The way that we said all these connections work is a student can register for multiple classes and a class can have, or a section can have multiple students. So we had to make that joining table. So we have this enrollment table that connects the two. So conceptually, if we wanted more information about the classes the student is in, a student object could have a list of classes they're enrolled in. They could have a list of their enrollments, right? And that enrollment could relate to the section, right? And that section could relate to the course. So depending on how far you want to traverse these objects means we're going to do different things in the database. So keeping it simple and I'm just getting student information is nice and easy. But then if I want to get the list of classes that student is in, it's going to have to be another query, which is not the end of the world. That's okay. But I don't automatically get that information with this, and my class doesn't have a place to put that right now. So we could add an attribute to our class to say, hey, I really should have that list of enrollments there, right? But maybe I don't populate it right now, right? That could be something I could go get enrollments for to populate, because I might not want that for every single student, right? If I get the list of all students and get the list of all enrollments, which gets the list of all sections, which is the list of all courses, like that's going to be a lot of information we might not necessarily need. So thinking about performance wise, we can have it as an attribute, but not necessarily go fill it every single time, but make that an option. Hey, for this student, go get the enrollment. And that could be another database query that goes out and gets the list of enrollments just for that student, right? Now doing that one at a time across 70, 7,000 students would be really slow. To do 7,000 queries, it might be faster to just get all of them and populate it all at once. So there's going to be a lot of performance trade-offs when we start dealing with those sort of relationships between objects. So there's not necessarily one good way to do it, right? But we need to think about, are we loading all the information? Or are we loading a very specific amount of information? Because the good rule that you want to follow is you want your database to do the filtering, because that way the least amount of memory is used here to pull that information back. If I have to grab everything and then filter it in my application side, I've asked for a ton of stuff from the database and I've thrown most of it away. So I don't want to have to go get the list of all, like we said, hey, don't get the list of all students and then go find the one where the ID matches. That's going to be a big waste of performance here. I can go get a singular ID from the database here because that's good at doing that, right? If I just want the sections for one student, great. Let me just get the ones just for that one student here. And there's more interesting stuff when it comes to databases you can do to make that sort of thing faster. But for now, let's go add an attribute to student here, and we'll add an optional method to go essentially populate it using our database class here. So student will just have that as an attribute, but we have to go and populate it here. So we'll say I'm going to have an attribute here, but I need to make an instance here. So let me go make a new class here. We'll call this enrollment, right? And we said enrollment had a couple pieces of information. It had the student ID, right? It had the section ID, it had its own ID, and then it had the grade here. What grade we got back for the course. So we have a private, goodness, private int for ID. No, none of those are correct here. A private int for student ID, a private int for section ID, and a private string for grade, right? And we'll add some gets and sets and constructors for this, right? Generate all of that. That's all boring stuff here. We probably know all of those here, right? So we can set it with, if you want a default constructor, you add a default constructor. If you want the parameterized constructor, add the parameterized. I don't think we're going to make enrollments without this information, because that's not very helpful to not have any of that here. And then we'll go add our gets and sets. We can go generate getters and setters for any of these things here. Okay, so we can get grade, get ID, get all of our gets and sets. So a lot of these classes tend to just be very boring ways to group data together, right? A lot of times you might call it a plain old Java class, or Java object. People like to come up with acronyms for things. So that's POJO. I don't know why, but if you Google POJO, it probably comes up here. A plain old Java object. It's just a thing. Don't worry too much about it here. So now we've got a enrollment class. Now my student can have a list of enrollments, right? So we can say, hey, my private array list of type enrollment here for enrollments, and we're going to go start that off as blank until we know otherwise. Did I spell it wrong? What is it not like here? Oh, it's never used. That's fine. It's just a silly suggestion. Now, the other option we have here, right? Yes, these are the correct attributes here, but it really is a student. So it could be the student object, and it really is a section. It could be the section object, right? It doesn't have to be ID. So for student, we said, hey, this is the list of enrollment type. We could just say, here's the list of IDs for your enrollments. So again, we've got different ways we can map these together here. I like when objects relate to other objects. It's not as fun to just get a list of IDs off of here, because then I need another list of that type of object that's going to be useful here. So we wanted to change these then, right? We could say, hey, this is a private student, and we'll just call it the student. And then we can go add another Java class for section. Right? And then section had an int for ID, a string for, I forget, what do we all add for section here? Section, oh, there's a bunch of stuff. That's fine. Let's move that over a little bit. So it was a int for course ID, or it could be a course, right? Depending on which we want to do. We don't have a course class yet, but this could have the class itself be referenced, not just the ID here. So however we want to traverse these, we can go through. Um, so let's leave it as course here. We'll make a course, a private faculty, private string for semester, a private string for day, private string start time, private string. Oh my goodness. There we go. There's the string for end time and a private string for modality. All right. Be nice. I don't think any of the tools yet let us upload a SQLite file. Any of the AI tools, do they? Hang on. AI code creation. Load SQLite file to create classes. Because that would save us a lot of time here because we're just replicating all of our fields here. AI native extension for SQLite. Oh goodness. I don't SQLite code. I don't want the SQLite code generator. Okay. I don't think I can upload SQL Alchemy. No, that's Python. That's fine. No, I don't know if any of those are going to do what we want here. SQLite code generator. Analyze your SQL. Oh, okay. Automated tool, SQLite code generator. So that's what we want here. Coding fleet, SQLite code generator. Transforms your like into SQLite code. No, that's the other way around. I want the other way around. No. Okay. Anyway, I was hoping there would be one here. There might be something. I'm not aware of anything off the top of my head, sadly. Oh goodness. All right. So we've got that one. So now we need to add some more classes for course and for faculty. Very exciting. Those ones are a little bit shorter, thankfully. Let's go add some classes. Course and private int ID, private string department, private int for number, private string for title. Oh, title's an integer? That probably shouldn't have been an integer there. Let's edit this one. Modify my table. Title should be a text. There we go. Did I do it? Yeah, okay. And then credits is an integer. There we go. And private int for credits. All right, and we can go generate our gets and sets and constructor. Imagine how long this would be if we didn't have generate for gets and sets too. Be so sad. Generate getters and setters. Okay, so course is pretty easy because it does have relation to sections. So if we wanted, we could add that optional list of sections, right? Just like we had student could have that optional list of enrollments here. But for now, we'll leave it as is. We'll come back and add those things to make this sort of traversal a little bit nicer. Was eventually be like, hey, I want to know all the times this course has been offered for a section. I want to know everyone's GPA for it, right? And has the GPA changed? Apparently, there's been a shift in GPA, average GPA over the years. Someone had a funny chart here they put out here. That's not my page. I went over the years. Yeah, this one. Gradeinflation.com. That looks really suspicious, like that they're all perfectly stair-stepped here. I don't know if I trust this particular chart here, but in general, this was the idea here. And we could, if we had the course information that listed all of the possible sections, that listed all of the possible enrollments, we could go get that information pretty quickly from our database, right? Using our code. Those sorts of things set us up for that. Let's go add our faculty class here. It's got a private int for ID. Int ID, a private string for name, and I think we have department, I should look it up here so we don't do it wrong. First name, last name, and department. Okay, in case you wanted to sort by that. So we'll do first name, private string, last name, and a private string for department. And again, we'll go generate a bunch of code here. And we'll generate some more code. I think I mentioned if you're using the IntelliJ generate for constructors, set tickets, I don't care. You don't need to comment that. If you're using an AI tool that you're like the chatbots that you talk with, I would like a comment saying, hey, this is the tool I used. This is what I asked for. Right. I think the IntelliJ stuff is fair game. Like I've been doing it. I imagine you probably are too. Some of the type ahead suggestions, again, that's fine too. If it type ahead suggested the entire thing, that's probably not great. Right? We should be doing some work here. But I think I turned off my code completion setting here, but it still does like a single inline code completion. That's fine. I'm okay with that too. All right, so we got our classes here. Again, faculty could have a list of sections that they teach. All right, we can come back and add some of these. I'm not going to add all of them here. Again, that's something if you'd like to do, you can finish out. But for the demo, I want to show you how it works just for student, and then we'll look at, it down the road. I think you could take it from there. Does that make sense? But now at least we've got the classes here because we're going to need all of that because section relates to course and faculty. Right? So I needed those classes to exist so that I can have the section that relates to those so that my student can have its list of enrollments. Right. Okay. So we've got all that. So we've got, we need gets and sets for those enrollments then, right? Because we didn't have those yet. Getters and setters. Now, we again want to be careful with gets on mutable lists here. If you have a get enrollment and you just give them that list here, they can go change it, which may or may not be what you want to have happen. Right? You might not want them to have full access. Now, we have a set enrollments function method that just says, give me the list and I'll take it. So I don't think we're concerned about people changing this list, right, in our code. But if you're not going to give them a set method here, if you're going to make them interact with it differently, you might not want to have a get that doesn't clone it first, right? We looked at using the clone option to get a nice copy of those sorts of things here. So just be aware that that can happen here. All right. So now our college DB, right? One of the things we want to do here is we want to go get the enrollments for a student. So if we give a student object here, we can go populate those enrollments, right? And get that information here. So let's go get that information. So we'll get a public static. This is a student, right? We're going to return. I guess we're going to modify the student. I don't even know if we need to return it here. Void. We'll say add enrollments, enrollment info, given a student. Right? So we need to get the student's ID, and we'll go query the enrollments table to go get all of that enrollment information for that given student. If you're not familiar with SQL, that's okay. I'd say select here with a where clause. I will say where the student ID matches the ID of the student. Right? And we'll do our substitutions here. I don't remember if I mentioned the select star is usually considered bad form. I was being a little bit lazy. You want to be explicit on what you're asking for. We're being explicit on which fields we're getting, so I'm not super concerned here. It's not like we're not just taking everything. We're only getting a couple things, but if the table changes here and the application doesn't, the fields could get screwed up here. Again, ideally, your DBAs don't change your application, your databases on you, or maybe you're doing it if you're the full stack developer. You might not have a DBA team who manages your databases, but database changes aren't forced to be in sync with application changes, right? Because you got application code and you have a database that just lives somewhere. Right? Nothing actually ties the two together. Right? So a change management process hopefully ties the two together, and your organization is good at communicating changes and things like that. But it gets a lot of fun working with databases. I think they're quite interesting. Anyway, so we're given a students, we need to go get all their enrollments. So we're going to make our prepared statement. We're going to go do all of our stuff here and then make sure we close all of that out. We actually take the whole try block, right? We'll steal all this here. But now we're going to say select star from enrollment where the student ID is equal to something here, right? And we're going to map that to the student dot get ID that we get back from the student. So we'll get all of the enrollments where the student ID matches this one here. So we're limiting it to just enrollments for a given student. It's not giving me all of the enrollments. Right? SQL is good at doing this sort of filtering. So it's only going to return the info I want for the student here. Now we need to go make a bunch of enrollments, right, off of that information here. Now, what we don't have is the section information, right? So when we looked at the enrollment code here, we said, hey, we have a student object right now. It's just section ID. It'd be nice if that was actually a section. Actually, I'm going to go change all this here. So we wanted that to be a section, right? And call that a section here. Those should be lowercase, right? So I'm actually going to get rid of all this code we generated. Right? We can throw it away and just regenerate new stuff here. Let's go generate again. Constructor takes all, right? That's the nice thing with generated code. You can just throw it away and generate new stuff here. Be nice if it did it automatically for us, but that's okay. Probably don't want that much to change without realizing it. And now we can go get that information. Excuse me. So to take one table and relate it to another table, you can do that right in your SQL query. Right? There's another SQL command we're going to use called a join that says, hey, connect these two tables on a matching field, a primary key from this table and a foreign key from this table, right? Because if we're maintaining our integrity, the foreign key has to relate to a primary key of this table over here. We know they exist, so I'm going to get back all of that information. Now, this is where your star becomes very problematic if I'm selecting everything. So as soon as I start joining tables together, we're going to run into trouble. So I think we added some information here. Did we add section? Oh, I didn't add any info here. Okay, I added students, never added courses. That's right, because I couldn't do it in the SQLite browser. Is there really no way to add information? I'm having a hard time here. Let's see, that's the cell. I don't want to edit the cell. I wanted to add a row. Hang on, let me see. Ooh, isn't there a place I can write SQL commands? Oh my goodness. Browse data. Execute SQL. It's right there. I'm sorry. I really need more coffee. It has not been a coffee enough day. And drive out to Ann Arbor. All right, so we're going to insert into this was section, or no, course, right? Was this course to start? I'm going to do course first. ID, department, number, title, credits. ID, department, title, number, title, credits. Number, title, credits. Values. So the ID should auto-generate. Actually, we don't need to do the ID, right? Because that one auto-generates. CIS 296 is an integer. Java programming, that's the title, and then this is a 3-credit course here, right? All right, so let's go and run our SQL here. Now we should be able to go and see some data. Again, it's the same sort of thing we do in the application. I don't want to build that whole menu out. Right? I'm just going to do it right in SQL here because I want to get something quick. And then now I can add a section. Oh, I need a faculty member first. Goodness gracious. That's the problem. Okay. Nope. Browse faculty. Browse data. Okay, so let's go insert into faculty. ID, first name, last name, department. Insert into faculty. First name, last name, department. Values, Eric, Chernesky, CIS. And I want just those ones. Execute just my selection, current line. Nope. All right, whatever. I'm going to keep this around just for fun, but that's fine. I'll just run that. All right, so now we got faculty. So now I can do section, insert into section. And then section had ID. I don't need it, so I have course ID, faculty ID, course ID, faculty ID, semester day, start time, end time, and modality. Values. All right, so course ID 1, faculty ID 1, right? They were the first ones I entered. They should be number ones here. This is fall 2025. Day is Thursday. Start time is 6 p.m. This is going to be real messy if you store these things as strings. Again, it's not great, but that's what we've got with SQLite. If you use an actual enterprise database management system, you have actual date time objects you can use that can store times, that can store dates, and you've got the full access to do all those things. But but we're just going to pretend with strings here. And then this is in person. All right, now let's run that one. All right, so now I've got sections, I've got courses. Now I can do enrollments, right? So let's go do an enrollment. So that is section ID, student ID, and grade. So let's insert into enrollment, section ID, ID, student ID, and grade. No, the grade was fine. We could leave blank to start, right? Because we haven't finished anything yet. Or maybe we put a grade in here, right? Why not? So we'll say values 1, 1, and we'll get an A for, I think I'm the first student. I should probably get an A in my own class. If not, I've done something wrong here. Oops. Nope. Uh, enrollment, right? Enrollment values. No such table main. What? Did I screw something up here? Enrollment, ID, section ID, grade, integer, 1A. Run. Broke it. Enrollment. Browse table. Nothing. Section ID, student ID, grade. Oh, do I not have? Did it not? Let me write all my changes here. Let's see if I can work it. No? Into enrollment. All right, all the other ones worked for me. That was sad. Let's make sure. Show table. Browse table. I got data. Course, faculty. There we go. I got me. Don't have enrollments yet. I got course. How about student? Browse table. I got students. Student ID 1. I certain no enrollment. No such table main. Insert into enrollment. Section ID. It's finding the values here. Student ID. Grade. 1A. Nothing. So, course. What? They're all here. Oh, does enrollment not have? I didn't set up the primary key right. I think that's what was failing. Yeah, let me go look at my enrollment table. Turn not null. Modify the table. No, it's set to auto increment for enrollment. ID, auto increments. But it wasn't in my SQLite sequences. Student course faculty section. Something's messed up with this table here. Let's go and see if we can delete the table and recreate it maybe. Modify. Sorry, this should have just worked here. I'm really confused now. Got auto increment. Auto increment. Okay. Enrollment. I'll delete it here. That's fine. And go re-edit. Enrollment. Add an ID as an integer, primary key, auto increment not null. Add a student ID, integer, which is a foreign key to the student table ID field. And a section ID as an integer. Oh, not nulls, which is a foreign key for section. Oh, I clicked the wrong button here. Section ID, student ID. Okay, and then we got grade, right? Grade as some text. Okay. Oh, auto increment. There we go. Okay. Refresh. Run. All right, it worked that time. Something got screwed up there. I don't know what all happened here, but should have had Yeah, there's the enrollment auto sequence. I don't know what happened there, but that's okay. Um, okay, now we got some data. So back in our query here. So the whole idea of doing this, where we got sidetracked here, was how do I get enrollment and section information? Because I want to create my section instance here while I'm also doing this, right? Because if the enrollment object doesn't have just a section ID, if it has an instance of section, I need all of that. So when I write my query here, we use a join. So is this one, oh, it does do good. So we're going to say select star from enrollment, where the student ID is equal to 1 for right now, right? So this gets me just the enrollment information. So if I also want the information from section, I'm going to say join section on section ID equals enrollment.section ID. That should be section ID, sorry. So section ID, so we're going to say, hey, join this table on, and you tell it what two fields match. You'd think it'd be automatic, but it's not. It's a little bit sad. You have to be specific here. So, hey, what fields match? Well, the section ID matches the enrollment.section ID, right? So now when I run it here, I get a bunch of information, but now I have multiple fields named ID. This is the big problem with using the star select. So if I just say select star, I'm not going to be able to specify, hey, this is the ID of this one, this is the ID of this one, because they're both named ID, which is a problem, right? So what we need to do is we need to be specific about these things here. So I think if we say enrollment dot star and section dot star, does that work for us here? It's been a little bit. Nope, that still doesn't work. So we have to be ridiculously specific about this. So we'll say I want the enrollment dot ID as enrollment ID here, comma, I want the student ID. Let's see, that's only in there once, right? So that's fine. Student ID, I want the section ID. Now, I don't need the section ID twice here, right? Because the ID of the section is the section ID from the enrollment table. I know they match here. So I don't necessarily need to grab it twice here. So I could just leave it as section ID if I wanted here, which is fine, right? We could get just the information out. So I think all the other ones are probably fine, actually, if we just get just the enrollment ID as the enrollment ID, or if we don't take the section ID, probably okay. So we've got a couple options, I guess. But we want the enrollment ID, then let's leave it as section ID. So using as lets you rename. That's our whole point here. So you can use as to rename fields. And I'll make this a little bit long because we got a bunch of stuff here. So we got section ID, we need grade, we need faculty ID, we need semester, we need day, we need start time, we need end time, and we need modality. Okay. So now when I run this here, I'll get enrollment ID is the name of my field instead of ID. So I can ask when I'm using my SQL commands to get some information from my query results, I can get string on enrollment ID, not just ID, and have it be confused about which ID I'm asking for. So it's a little bit of extra work here. Specify what fields you want. When we're joining tables together, we got to be specific, right? And then if if section also needed an instance of faculty here, I don't remember if we did that or not. Yep. We could then go join the faculty table to get all the faculty information. We could join the course table to go get all the course information and finish out those connections if we wanted, right? Again, you've got options whether or not you want to fully populate all of your Java objects or not. Here, we're just pulling more database information or not. So you can complete it all the way through if you want. Let's do that. So let's join the other tables here then, right? So we've joined section on the section ID matches the enrollment section ID. Let's join course on the section.course ID. Course ID is equal to the course.id. And then we're going to join faculty on the section.faculty ID equals the faculty.id. So this table matches here, this table matches here, this table matches here. And we can join all of those together here. Again, I'm just going back to the select star for a second just to show here. We get a lot of columns here, right? but that's all the information we're looking for in a single database query. So the database does all the hard work of putting those pieces together in a single request, goes out, does its work, gives me data back, which is really nice. It's very efficient to just have a single request come out there and do that here. But if we want to name all of them, right, so we got modality. Now, I don't need the ID of the course because I already have that, right, from the section table. Right, we had a course ID field already, right, from section, where was that? Did I not have faculty ID, semester, start date and time? Oh, I skipped that one. Okay, so yeah, course ID after, so before faculty ID. So it's course ID, and that is our section dot course ID. Right, you can specify the table dot attribute name, but I think that's the only one named course ID out there as well. So we got the course ID, faculty ID, semester, start time, modality, and then I don't need the course ID again, so I just need the department. Now, this is the course department, not the faculty department, right? So we got to be specific here then. So course department as course department, right? And then I've got number, I've got title, I've got credits, and then I already had the faculty ID, right? From that table, I can get first name, last name, and then this is the faculty dot department as faculty department. To get all that information out and to properly name my fields here. Right? Got a big, ugly, long query, but it can work. Right? So let's go put that one in my query. So I'm selecting a bunch of stuff here. It's, inside the quotes, though, right? Inside my quotes. Look at it, added the own new lines for me. How fancy is that? That was a really happy copy paste. I did not think it would work that nicely. Now where student ID equals question mark, right? Because that is our substitution here. Make sure we're still doing our substitutions here. We're going to get all this information out here. All right, what are we going to do with it? Well, for every row, we're going to do a bunch of stuff here, right? We're not doing new students then, right? We're going to make new enrollments here. Enrollments will have sections. Sections will have faculty and courses, right? So again, if we also have those objects with lists of the other ones here, we might run into some trouble. Right? We might not want to fully populate those. Again, there's all those trade-offs here. How do we load all of those ones here? But for now, we're going to update our student with enrollments. So then we're going to make a new enrollment list. So we're going to have a array list of enrollments, array list of type enrollment here for enrollments. And then we're going to make a new enrollment. To make that enrollment, we need to make the new faculty and the new course, right? We can do it all inline if you want here. Lots of different options here. But essentially, we're going to go get a bunch of those back out here by name. Let's see, first name, last name, we had that right already here. Right, so we can make a faculty equal to new faculty. Now this needs a bunch of information here. First name, last name, string, faculty, department, query. Faculty dot department. Should we leave it as that? Can we do, let's see, can we do that? Faculty dot department. So give me the dot. Let's see. It does not, no. So as faculty dot department, can we leave it with a dot? I don't know if I like dots or no, it doesn't like the dots. So we got to take that out. That was a fun suggestion, but it did not work. Faculty department. Right, and I think up above it had a lowercase faculty department, all lowercase. And I think it's case sensitive. I don't actually remember. It might not be. We can look it up. So faculty department then makes all that information, right? Faculty, first name. Oh, we need the ID as well. Int faculty ID. Get the faculty ID. Is that uppercase? That's lowercase. Right, so faculty ID, first name, last name, department. Great, we've got that. And then I can add that to my section in a minute. I need course. So we have an int for course ID, student query, get int for the course ID. And then all that information about course, right, was department, number, title, credits. So we had a string for course department. Is my query get course department? I think that was just, yeah, course department, lowercase, that one matches. Number, title, and credits. An int for course number. Student query dot get course number. A string for course title. Student's query dot get string for student's query dot get string for course title. I think that was just title, right? And so this is a little tedious, right? It's unfortunate we got to go through and do all this work here, but once it's set up, we've got it all, right? A course credits, or just credits, I guess. Student query, get credits. That one should match for credits. Awesome. We got faculty, so now we've got that. And then we need the enrollment ID and the grade. So we've got a enrollment ID is my student query get. This is enrollment ID, right? That one matches. And then a grade, string for grade. The student's query get grade. All of that then can be made into a new enrollment, right? So my enrollment equal to new enrollment. Given, oh my goodness, all the things it needs. So it needs the enrollment ID. It needs, what does enrollment need? The student and the section. The student, right? We have the student, right? We were passed the student object here. We created the section. So it needs a, didn't we make this? We didn't make the section yet. Shoot, that was this information was section for course ID, faculty, semester modality. So a section, oops, int for section ID is the section ID. Faculty ID we have, right, because we know the faculty. So we've got that one already. We've got semester, string for semester. My student's query get semester. And then day, start time, end time. Look at that, day, start time, end time, modality. I love it. It could think about what we were doing up here. That way, one more. All right, now we can make the section equal new section, given the section ID, and then section needed. Oh, we never finished this one here. So let's make the constructor. Sorry, generate constructor, and generate our gets and sets. Generate getters and setters. All right, so now we can make our section. Section ID. What was next? Course and the faculty. Course. Oh, I guess we got to do that after, don't we? If we make the course and faculty. Move it down one. Course. Oh, I never made a course. Shoot. Course equal to new course. Given the course ID, course department, course number. Oops, no dot. The course title and the credits. And now we've got the course. And we got the faculty. We got the semester, the day, and the start time, the end time, modality. Awesome. All that. Now we can add the student. Now we can add the section because we got all that information, and then the grade as well. Then we can take our enrollments, right, and add the enrollment to it. For every record we get here, we're going to pull out all that information. It's very exciting stuff here. Right. But that should now let me populate a list of enrollments for that student. And if you gave me the student object and I have access to your enrollment, right, I can go add that enrollment to it. So after I'm done with all of this here, we close out my query, close the connection, I can take my student.set enrollments to the enrollments we just populated. Right, all of that work to get this list of enrollments to go set it for my student object here, right? Or I guess we could just add it directly, right? But we could go get the enrollments and call add one at a time, or we could set, either way should accomplish the same task here. We'll go set it all. Right, so all of that now to get there's a typo in enrollment ID. Oh, is it because it's lowercase? Because it's lowercase. That should be fine. All right, so we got student. So let's go see if we can get a student out and then populate all the sections, all the enrollments for that student, and go get that information, right? Uh, so in our application, right, we don't need the height and width here. We'll get rid of that. Bridge, we don't want any of that. Here's our registration window here, and then our Hello View file. We're going to go open in Scene Builder. Oh, do I not have that shortcut? I don't have that shortcut anymore. So let's go find Scene Builder, go pull it out. So I'm going to go open, maybe we should rename this here. So this will be registration, rename, registration. That way it's easier to find next time. Yes, refactor everywhere. So Scene Builder, we'll go find that in Documents, GitHub, 296. JavaFX registration, source, made, resources, example, hello world, registration. Right, and we're getting rid of this VBox because we don't care about that, and add in an anchor pane. You don't doesn't have to be an anchor pane, but I like these. It's just being kind of easy. And then go set the controller for it back to that one here. And then we wanted, so probably a place to put all this stuff here, right? We probably want a text box we can type in. Uh, no, in controls, there we go. That's why I couldn't find it here. So we want a text field we can type in. And we should probably put a label next to it to tell us what we're doing here. Right, so this will be a get student, or maybe the student ID. That's probably better, right? Student ID, and then this needs a FX ID, so we can go get the name out of it later. Here's the student ID text box. On action, we probably don't need anything for the text box itself because we're going to use buttons, and you can add listeners to text boxes to do it as they type, but you might not want to be doing something as they're typing, right? Later we can go add a filter, be like, hey, as I start typing a name, I want to start filtering a list here. That's kind of fun. But again, for now, this is probably just let's click a button and then we can go here. Here's I don't know, look up student here, and then that needs an FX ID. This is the look up student button, and it should on action look up student. Okay, give that a save, come back to IntelliJ, and we can go update our controller from here. And then we went to our controller and we should have some stuff here. Gotta go add our imports, import class, the Java FX one. Yes, please. Just import Java FX star, controls star. All right, we don't have a welcome text anymore. So we don't need that one. We have a lookup student and our action event, import class, not the AWT event one. Why give us that suggestion? That's a terrible suggestion. No. Import JavaFX dot event dot action event. There we go. Now that one's happy. So we probably need a place to put that information as well. So we should add another something. No, this is where you can do fun stuff with like drop downs here. So it'd be nice to have what is the option here? A list view to put all those things in a list, right? For now, we're just going to do a label. We can come back and add a list view, which gives you like a clickable list here to get more information. We'll come back to that later. For now, we'll just add a little label here, and this will be my enrollment label, enrollments label, right? Okay, so we'll leave the text as label for now here. So we can look up a student and go back and update the controller one more time. Update controller. We got our label. So when we click this thing here, we want to go get the student. So student equals my college DB dot get student, right? Given the integer from that text box. So I want my student ID text box dot get text here. So I need that as an integer. So integer dot parseInt of the text box there. And hopefully I get a student back there. What is it not like here? Get student. Provided array list. What? Did we not do that right in college DB? That should just be a single student, not an array list of students. Get students. Oh, why is that an array list of students? I think we never changed that, right? That should just be a singular student, right? That's just return. We don't need to add. We just need a single student. Uh, oh, because if it failed, we would just return an empty list. Maybe that's what it was here. I think that's so. In case it failed, we could just add turn an empty instead of a null. Nulls get to be a little bit obnoxious here, so maybe that's fine to leave it like that. So go back to our controller. Uh, so we want the first one here, right? Um, I guess we'll make that an array list of type students, and yeah, go ahead, import that one. And if my students dot size is 0, we can take our label and we'll set the text to no student found. Look at that. How awesome is that? Can we replace with is empty? There we go. That's a good suggestion. Otherwise, then, else if it's not empty, now we can go and get all those enrollments out here. So then we can say for enrollment, or I'm sorry, we need to go populate the enrollments. So we'll take our student then. So our student is students dot get from index 0, right? Get the first one out here, and we'll take our college DB. I'm going to call add enrollment info for that student, and then for enrollment in my student get enrollments, we can go take our enrollment label, and we can go set the text to the enrollment label. Dot get the text enrollment label get text plus a bunch of stuff here, right? Not ideal to build out strings like this, but again, it's not the end of the world right now. We can come back and do better things later. Just want to set this briefly here. So we'll take the enrollment dot, I don't know, what do you want to get here? We've got all sorts of information about our stuff. We can get the section out here and then get all the section information, or it'd be nice if our classes like would represent themselves as a string maybe. So we could go add that to this here. So how do we want to represent enrollment as a string? We could add an override for toString, and we could go get something for that. Sure. So let's add student. Uh, so we've got a student toString, right? So let's go add that as well. So let's add enrollment. Let's go generate a toString method here and see what it gives us. Generate toString, given all of our attributes here. So student, I think we need to specify toString as well, and section toString as well. Make sure section has a toString. So let's go generate that as a toString, all of those. And then we want course.toString and faculty.toString as well. Course will generate a toString. So this will be a little bit long here, but that's okay. It might be a little bit ugly. You can always come back and clean it up later. There's course, here's faculty, generate a toString. All right, so hopefully now that works here, and we can just go do all of that enrollment.toString plus a new line, right, for every enrollment that that student has. Again, it's not going to be super long at the moment because right, we just have the one here. Um, so let's give that a try. Let's see if this one runs for us here. So back to hello application. All of this worked just to get one to show up here. So student ID 1, look up the student. Oh, didn't like, no? What happened? Never even did anything. FX. Graphics? What happened? I think that was fine before. We just ignored it, right? Did it not look up? All right, hang on. Let's see. So I'll go to our controller, go to look up students. There's no usages. Do we not add that lookup student? It says on action lookup student. Let's try it here. So let's add a breakpoint, run it in debug mode. See if we can get it to pause for us. Oh, goodness, I forgot. Should have put a number one there. Hang on, let's stop. Rerun that. Run it again. Hello application in debug. Forgot to put a string in here. One, look up. All right. So now we're going to go look up the student. So get the student ID text box, get text. So let's step into our code here. Step into, we want the get student one here. So we're getting student, integer ID is 1. So we're going to make our array list, try our connection. Oh, is that where it's failing? No, I got a connection. Okay, good, good. Got a connection. Get our student, set the parameter, the query, get the student out, add the student, that returns, good. It's not empty. All right, so now we got to go, okay, add the enrollment information. So we're getting there, adding enrollment information, connection, statement, prepared statement, results. Get our list of enrollments here. Uh-oh, we had no enrollments, so our query didn't work here. Student get ID was 1, right? Student ID was 1, should have been 1. Right? Did that query not work for us? We didn't have any results. Why do we not have any result? Student query, no results. Collect columns. It had columns. Huh. Somebody didn't like our query. Didn't our query work? This one ran, didn't it? It ran here. We must not have given it something right here. Let's see. Here's the SQL. Enrollment ID, faculty ID, all that stuff went through, right? Where student ID equals that. What's the suggestion? No. So we never got any results. Interesting. Do we have do have enrollments, right? All right, but anyway, so it came back with blank here, I guess. So we had no enrollments. Set the enrollments to blank. Oh, we had no enrollments. So it found a student but never didn't have any information for us here. That's a bummer. Okay, so that's why it came back with nothing. Never updated the label. All right, so it did work though, but it didn't give us any information back on our query. Let's see. All there was next. Let's try it again real quick. So that query ran. Let me take out the tabs for a second here. Well, that was fine. Pull it out. Plug it in. Where student ID equals the question mark. You are buying. One is student get ID. And let's try the breakpoint here and run our hello application again. Just in case it was a copy paste error. Let's try it. 291, look up. That one should be fine. Right, great. Now we've got a student, we have a size, the add enrollment information. This is where it's failing. So step in here. Is this the problem? We never use the statement. Yeah, we only use the prepare statement. I think I copied too many, right? Didn't need that one. Prepared statement, execute. So our query should be good, right? So we got a prepared statement. We've got our SQL here that it should run. That's fun, right? All that. Student ID equals. We did our binding here. Student query. That's what the problem is here. I copy pasted wrong. No, no, student query is the compare statement execute. Right, so we got a student query. What line are we on right now? Result set. Okay, now we've got the student query. Got our statement. Result set empty. It's true. I'm not sure why it's blank here. Here we got the parameters, right? Parameters of 1. Okay. And then we should have our parameters list here. Do not have our parameters. Prepared statement has parameters. So close. Why are we not getting any information? Shouldn't be empty, right? We got all the columns, right? That's all of our faculty department. Not sure why it's empty though. Shoot. It's empty. All right, I'll have to play with that for a second and see why it's empty. Should have given us our data back because the query works here, right? Because we do get information from. I wonder. Oh, I have to write the changes. I think I never finished writing it here. Let's make sure that actually went through. That's probably why. Shoot. Let's give it a little run. I think I never finished saving all that information because when you make your edits with SQL, it is pending here and gives you the option to revert or undo. I'm hoping that was all it was here. Let's give it a 1. Look up. Really? Nothing? All right, I'll play with it and see. Why don't we take a break? It's been a little while here. I'll play with it while I'm not recording. We can get that fixed, hopefully, and pick it up from there, okay? All right, let me pause here. We'll take 10. All right. It took all of like 2 minutes after I hit pause here to figure this out. So let me run one more time here with the bug here. And I just wasn't looking at my console output, which is the downside of using graphical user interfaces, right? No one knows them, no one pays attention to the console. There's a SQL exception. No such column course number. So we had a typo. I probably would like to blame the type ahead here because I wasn't paying very much attention to just taking all the suggestions like an idiot, right? Sometimes the tool doesn't do the right thing. So the course type, course number is actually just named number. So we got to go fix that one here to just number. Give that a stop and a run. And I think that fixes our problem here. Let's go see our ugly looking output and look up student 1 and we get data, but it's really long and choppy looking. Goodness, because it's all one field here. Where's all of our new lines here for any of that information? We didn't add new lines, right? We just had a single something here. Why didn't we get new lines? I really thought we got some new lines here. We just had slashes with quotes. Okay, so our auto-generated field here was not great for the toString, right? We didn't get any new lines. I don't think any of these here. Goodness, they were just one long ugly string here. That's unfortunate. We could try and make it prettier looking if we wanted. And for now, it sort of gets the job done, right? It's not great, but we've got some information showing on the screen, thankfully here, which is nice. We just need to go fix that starter text to not be labeled here to just be probably blank, right? So it doesn't show anything. Here be fine. And we only had one registration. There wasn't a whole lot of information coming there yet because we didn't populate anything else new with other students here. We didn't add other classes for that student, but here's the enrollment. Right, we saw that, saw the major, saw the name, department, the faculty. Oh man, this one's really long. It'd be nice if that one wrapped, but it doesn't wrap here. So not great that I can't even scroll this one because we put it in a label. Right? We didn't put it in any sort of good graphical user interface field that looks nice here. Our label's not great here. but we've got some data, which is cool. So, hey, we've populated. That part works for us here. It works all the way through with all of the classes here because we created instances of the classes here. And the single student's not great, but we've got something at least. So if I wanted a list of all students, right, we could get all the students out and then we could go filter it and do more fun things as we go. I mentioned using the list view is the really fun one here because the list view gives us a nice little, oh my goodness, I wanted list view, not label. There we go. List view gives us a place we can put stuff, right? Which is fun. So I can go add all of these items here. So here's my list view here. Um, and they will populate a nice looking field you can go play with. Again, this takes a little bit more work to make it work though, which is the downside. So if I want a list of, hey, here's a bunch of courses or a bunch of students and I can go get that information, great. I don't want to have to go necessarily type one at a time. Like, it's nice to have some drop downs or to have a list of options here. Hey, if I had a list of departments I could pick from when I'm making new courses, we can make our UIs look pretty, but they take a lot of work. And at this point, I'm not really expecting you guys to put a ton of effort into making these things look pretty because we just, the whole practice here is can we get to the database, get it talking here, be able to go and add all this information here as we go and then go populate them. So I'm actually going to leave that one alone for now. So, okay, we don't necessarily need that one as we go. Um, we've got something to show. It's not great, right? Just using these default two strings is not the prettiest option here as we go because they're all just one lines, right? It'd be nice if we had some new lines in here as we went, right? We can add in our own new lines if we wanted, right? We'll add in some backslash new lines here. And if we add a bunch of new lines in for all of these, it'll look a little bit nicer as we go, right? Just kind of clean all those up. That's for student, right? And we can go add them in for section, new line, and new lines, and new lines, and new lines, and new lines, right? Just to separate them all here. I think on faculty, we had one of these. Right? And this is the downside. The auto-generated code is not always exactly what we wanted here, but we can go fix it, right? It gives us a starting point for some of these things here, right? For course, we had some new lines, and I think that's probably where we had them, right? Oh, enrollment, right? We wanted some new lines and new lines and new lines and new lines. That'll look a little bit nicer as we go. Again, it's a starting point. We can go tweak it as we need to. This is just so we can see some information here. Now we get, oh, well, maybe that's a little too long and maybe some tabs would be nice. And we could clean up this to make it look pretty. Again, we're just throwing in the labels, not really going to be the prettiest thing here as we go. In a text area, is automatically scrollable. I think did we look at text areas a while back? It'd be nice if there was a text area instead of just a field here, because that one gives you all of the scrolling here automatically, right? So I want to use a text area. So here's a text area instead of the label. That's fine. We can leave the label for now. So we'll come back to IntelliJ, go update our controller, the fxml, so it exists, go to our controller. And now instead of setting the text for all of this, we can go and append text to a text area, which is nice. So I can take my text area and I can append text here. And I can take my enrollments, I don't know, text area, append text. And we'll just go append the enrollment get text. I'm sorry, the enrollment, right? We don't need to repeat any of that here. We can just add just that one here. And when we append plus the new lines, I think we need to add in our own new lines here. We'll see how that looks in the text area. Should be a little bit nicer looking, and then we'll add to it. Now, if we don't clear it out every time, though, if we just only append, we're just going to keep on adding and adding and adding and adding. And now you've got a bunch of repeated stuff here. So, be a little careful. It's not just appending here, right? There's the enrollment, right? We just repeated it again. So you want to clear it first once. So let's go and clear it so we don't just forever append. So the first time we want to take our text area.clear, clear it out. Then when we run it now, it'll populate just that once. I want to run, not debug. I think I got it there. Is it run? All right, there it is. No, I didn't want debug. Just stop them both. All right, just to run, make it look nice. This is probably a little bit nicer, right? Because now I can scroll it left and right if we need to, up and down. as we go. So we can see all the information. Hey, I got an A for, here's the class here, right? There's the faculty. That's the rest of the class here, right? Here's the course itself for that given section. And it looks a little bit prettier, which is cool. Um, all right, does that part make sense? So I've got a place to view it, right? We've populated the data here from the associated or related fields, right? Of the related tables back in my actual classes then are much more interesting because student has that list of enrollments. But we might not always want to fill them here. So my base student doesn't do that here. But if I then go add the enrollment info from a student here, I can go get it and not have to do this for every single student here in the list. And maybe you do. Maybe you want that to be a default. So other tools that are these object mapping tools give you that sort of flexibility. Over in C# land, there's a built-in one that Microsoft gives you is called Entity Framework. The framework, Entity Framework in C# is fantastic here. It gives you all sorts of this cool stuff here right off the bat. It will map to a database. So an object relational mapper maps your objects, your classes, to those relational connections here. So you can like point it at a database and it will generate code for you, or you can write code and it will generate a database for you. It's got bidirectional support, which is really cool. You can do fun stuff with it. Sadly, it doesn't exist in Java land. I think there's some Java object relational mapping. Let's see if there's any object model. The JPA, is that it? Relational databases, neat. The JPA. So it looks like there's some here. What is this? I'd have to go, yeah, so you have to go look up whatever one this one's using here. That's fun. Persistence. Okay. So there's some built-in hibernate. Um, some tools here we can use that give you similar options. They have additional pieces here. This is Jakarta. Oh, this is an older Java library. Did stuff here, but you can find libraries that do it. This sort of mapping for you, so you don't have to do it all by hand, which is nice. Right? Here's my class. Right? It's a generated ID identity, which is cool. Here's all the gets and sets, and then you can go load them here. So this is the example, takes you through finding information from your entity mapping. It's a little bit rough, but does similar things. You don't have to necessarily write all the mappings yourself here. It works, hey, can connect it to a MySQL database, these sorts of things make it pretty fun. Having libraries makes it so you don't have to do all of this work of writing out your queries and that sort of stuff here. So these sort of problems people have run into before, but it's nice to have done it once for a smallish example here to do some of this by hand to see what kind of magic is happening behind the scenes so we understand what these frameworks and tools do for us. And then we can appreciate and understand, hey, if we're loading all of these relations here, it's going to take a little bit more time to do all those queries across everything. I might not want all of that data. And we've got different options, different libraries give you those tools. You can give me all the connections or don't. Right? I just want just the student info. If I want more connections, I can go build out all those other connections and populate them as we go. But for us, if you want to use them, cool. We don't have to necessarily get all that data, right? What we're doing for the project is we were just going and making it so we can create, read, update, and delete, finishing those CRUD operations. I'll never turn on the quizzes for you. We got the last couple of quizzes here. I'll turn those ones on for the last final chapters here. That'll wrap up our quiz scores and get those midterms graded for you. I think I have got to do these ones. The grader has fun rules about whether or not I can pretend to be smart or not because of the graduate student employee union, which is nice. They're looking out for people, making sure we don't pay them as a greater rate if they're actually doing graduate employee work. That should be covered as like a graduate student assistant sort of thing. But essentially, they can only do what is it? Subjective work, no, nothing objective. And that's the distinction between graders and graduate students and that sort of thing. But anyway, for the project, right, we're just doing our create, read, update, delete for all of the other tables here, so we can go and add that information. right? If you wanted to do a graphical user interface, they're fun. You can have your text boxes, you can have your labels and fields, and hey, I want to go add, and then you can just throw it all in a list here. It doesn't have to be anything super pretty. Um, the list view is kind of nice here. Should we do one list view real quick? All right, let's do one list view. Um, so we're not going to use the pretty or the like two string everything gives you all the information here because it's a little long here. But let's go grab a list view. Where did it go? List view. Drag it over here maybe. And this will be my students list view. And then I'm going to add another button to populate this one here. And this will be my get student list button. And I want to get student list. When I click that button, and I think that's good here. Right, I got my list view. Cool. All right, so let me go update here. Update. I have a controller now. I should have another button. All right. So when I do this, I want to get all my students. So my array list of type student, students equals my college DB. I get students. I'm going to get all of the students there. Yes, that one. Get all the students, and then I'm going to take my list view there. List view. I want to set items to, now when you set items, they have to be an observable list. So the idea with this Java collection, excuse me, is observable lists will send some sort of notification to whoever is using that list that it's been changed, which is nice for it being hooked to a UI. So if I have this list that gets modified outside of me setting it once here, the list view can go and update itself. So it's made to be smart and intelligent that if the list changes, it will change the display. I don't have to go back and say, hey, I've updated the list here, please go change the display. It's hooked to it automatically to be observable here, which is nice. So we're going to get that list of students here, but we have to convert it to an observable list. I think it casts right away. It's been a minute here. So Java array list to observable list. It would help if I could spell right, but I think I probably got it close enough. There we go. Casting an array list to it. FX collections dot observable array from the list. Is that it? Observable array list. Yeah, I think you can. How to convert? See if that one's any better. Bless you. Observable list, given the list is the array list. So FX collections dot observable list. I think that's probably the right way to do it. I don't think this cast will do it for us. We want FX collections dot observable list given students. So if I get my list of students, convert it to this observable list using this FX collections tool, we'll go set it. And I think that ought to get us the list here. Let's go give it a run. Back to hello application. And I've got my list of students. So it's using the toString operation to show me what each item is. So it doesn't look necessarily the best right now, but again, we've added a lot of new lines, so these look pretty large here. And really quickly, I get that list of students here, which is fun. And then I can go back, let me go back to my hello controller here. So if we want this list of students, this array list of students to exist outside so we can modify it other ways, like adding filters gets to be a lot of fun where I can go change what's in this list by asking the database, hey, database, give me something, I don't know, whatever we wanted to filter it by here. We just set it at the class level, and because it's observable, it's been watching it. As this changes, it will change in my UI. And we don't need to do any fancy filters. It's not like I want to go look up classes by number, look up classes by department, but in a full system, you'd have like some sort of filter. Hey, I want to start typing the name of a class here and do a search for me. Right? So we can use that filter on the array list here, the observable list here, to start restricting it and it will just change the UI for me automatically, which is really nice. You don't have to do a lot of extra work there. We just change what's in the list that we're observing here, which is nice. So we start restricting that in our code, and the UI will update itself, which is really fun. So that's sort of the piece here, but the lists get to be really nice. Um, and then as you click items in that list here, so I go back here, you can add other listeners. So I can say, hey, when I start doing something here, uh, usually it's when I start clicking. Where's that? Which one? On select, I think is where it is. Where's that one? I don't think it's the edit. Oh man, which one is it? Um, which one? I forget here. Hang on. Java view click. Uh, that's not even it. That's Android. I don't want that. Clickable list view items. So when you click it, yeah, when you say when we've clicked it here, we want to go do something with it. You can go get the object out that was clicked, and then hey, this is the ID of the thing that was clicked. Or because we're using instances of student here, we have access to the actual student object that was clicked on. It knows which one was clicked here. I'm not finding the right one at the moment here. Uh, and why is it Android? Don't want Android. Um, so keep coming with Android. Java. Oh, FX. There we go. That's why. Java FX. Not FC. Goodness gracious. List view. Quick handler. So yeah, so you'll say, hey, which is the get selected item? And we can go get that item that was selected, right, from the list view. So if we click on that one, so let's go add some handlers here. So let's set on mouse click. So I'm going to go back to the on mouse click. On mouse clicked here. This will be student clicked here. And we'll go add that function, go update our controller. Back to hello controller. I want to add the event. Come on. Really? Event, we'll just add all this. Yeah, there we go. Add all the events. So we're going to get the event itself, and then we want to go to our list view, get the selected item from it there. So it's not a string though, right? We want to get, that's a list view of string. Ours is a list view of students. So this is our student list view, get selection model dot get selected item is the object here, and we need to go cast that as my student. Student, selected student, selected student. Say, hey, this thing is a student, right? Because our array list, the thing it's observing, right? All the items are students here. Um, so it should give us back that same right of t. And then if we want to go do something with that, we needed like another place to do something. Or maybe let's see if we can populate the student ID. So let's take the text box, student ID text box. Nope. Student ID text box. We'll set the text to the selected student dot ID, get ID, dot toString. To, oh, it's not a, yes, string, it's not integer dot toString. Oh my goodness, the selected student, get ID. Too many conversions here because you have to set text to a string, integer to string. Okay, so let's see if that one, if we pick a student, we want to be able to go set the text of that text box here to go do something with it. Find students, either look up one or look up two, right? Depending on which one has been selected, I have that student object from the list here. So this is the sort of fun thing. If we wanted to go like add enrollments, I could have a list of sections and a list of students. Click the student, click the section, and then click a button for add enrollment, and not have to type in the section ID and the student ID. Right? Having drop downs is really nice, or having lists is really nice to click on here. But as you can see, it's a little bit more work. Right? You have to go and populate these things, and but it does make for a nicer experience. And if you wanted to build out an actual user interface for someone here, I don't want to rely on them having to go find the number here and then go type the number somewhere else. They're going to want to click the one in the list, right? That's the section I want. Oh, that's the student who's enrolling here. And those sorts of things just make life a lot easier using our good, nice UI tools that we have. Uh, so, does that make sense? Awesome. Um, Cool. I think that's pretty good for today. We're right at 8. We're ending. Not too bad. So we got a little bit of time. Work with your group or harass them for not showing up tonight. And again, console-based input, perfectly fine for Project 4. It doesn't have to use the UI here. Um, it makes life a little easier and nicer, but again, we can just do the text input. You can type the numbers. That's okay, right? Enter all the data by hand, and you're just going to have to go remember what the student ID was, what the section ID was, what the faculty ID was, whatever it is here, right? We can go have to remember those. That's not the end of the world. Um, but you can see how using a UI and doing all this extra work makes it a whole lot nicer. I think that's sort of the goal here. So we're just adding this. You can do really cool, nice looking things to your toolkit if that's what you want to go build. So I don't need you to spend 50 hours building out something really nice and pretty though. Right? This was not a 50-hour project, right? Your final project will be 3 people times 4 weeks times, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 hours a week is the estimate here. Probably like 5, right? Because you spend some time in class. So it's 15 times 4. That's like a 50, 60-hour project for the final project, right? So, uh, yes, for the final project, we'll do something much nicer. But for this one, that's okay. We're just sort of practicing our database work for now, okay? Awesome. I'll go ahead and stop recording.